The planet Zalox was peaceful just hours before the sky turned to fire. Bright blue skies became filled with red flames as unknown ships broke through the atmosphere, moving fast like falling stars. Their design was strange, sharp, dark, and silent. The alien defenders of Zalox, tall reptilian warriors with glowing armor, had no time to prepare. Sirens screamed across the capital. General Vorak, commander of the Zalox Defense Force, stood on the balcony of the high tower, staring in shock. This was not a pirate raid. This was something else, something worse. Within minutes, explosions hit major power stations and military outposts. The attackers didn't speak, didn't send warnings or demands. They just struck, fast, focused, and deadly. Vorak gave the order to fight back, but the enemy seemed to know every weakness. Their weapons cut through shields like they were nothing. Their soldiers moved with strange speed, and their ships vanished from radar right after firing. The Zalox were fierce fighters, but this enemy, they fought like machines, like they were born only for war. General Vorak ran to the command room, shouting orders. He saw the reports. Over half of their planetary defenses were gone in under 20 minutes. The alien warriors tried to regroup, but every time they planned a counterattack, the enemy was already one step ahead. It felt like they were being toyed with, like the enemy was testing them. One officer cried out, "We are being hunted," Vorak growled. "No, we are being studied." Outside, in the burning sky, a strange ship hovered near the capital city. Inside, Commander Alara, leader of the human scout team, watched the battlefield through her visor. Her face was calm, focused. She didn't feel joy in the destruction. She didn't feel guilt either. She was doing her job. Around her, human soldiers moved quickly, each one perfectly trained. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. Every action was sharp and silent. They had one goal: test the enemy's response. Alara opened a channel to the human command ship, hidden far away in the asteroid belt. "Mission going as expected," she said. "Zalox forces are strong but unorganized. Reaction time, slow. Strategy, predictable." A voice replied through her earpiece. "Continue for 10 more minutes. Then pull out. We don't want full engagement." Alara nodded. "Understood." Back on the planet, General Vorak watched in horror as the last air defense tower was destroyed. He slammed his fists against the control panel. His people were proud. They had built a strong world. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and civil wars. Yet now, they were being crushed by an enemy they didn't understand. Who were these attackers? Why didn't they talk? What did they want? Then came the most shocking moment of all. The enemy stopped. The human ships, still in perfect formation, turned away from the capital and flew back into orbit. They didn't chase the fleeing Zalox forces. They didn't destroy the power core or the food reserves. They just left. Vorak stood in silence. Smoke filled the air. Fires burned across the city. But the enemy had stopped attacking. A cold feeling crept into his chest. This wasn't victory. This was something worse. A warning. In the command room, an officer played back some of the battlefield audio. Strange human voices, hard to understand, but filled with discipline and control. One line repeated again and again. "Scout team, mission complete, pulling out." Vorak's eyes narrowed. "Scout team," he whispered. This wasn't even a full army? Far above the planet, inside the lead human ship, Commander Alara removed her helmet. Her eyes were tired but sharp. Around her, the scout team began to power down their weapons. "They're scared," one of the soldiers said. "Good," Alara replied. "They should be." She walked to the central screen and watched Zalox grow smaller as their ship pulled away. "Prepare the report," she ordered. "Let the fleet know the test is complete. We have our data." A silence fell across the room. Each member of the scout team knew what this meant. The real fleet, the heavy carriers, the battle cruisers, the AI war units, they were still back in human space. They hadn't moved yet. They were waiting for this report, waiting to know if the enemy was ready. Now they would know. Back on Zalox, General Vorak stood alone in the command room. Fires still burned. His people were wounded and confused. He opened a long-range communication line to the Galactic Council. His voice was rough, filled with fear and shame. "This is General Vorak of Zalox. We were attacked today. We believe the enemy is human, and we believe they were only scouts." Far across the stars, the message echoed through the galaxy. Some ignored it, some laughed, but a few remembered the old stories. Stories about humans, long silent, hiding in the shadows of their star system. Stories about a race that never gave up. Now it seemed those stories were true, and this was only the beginning. The Galactic Council chamber was silent. Representatives of 5 powerful alien species sat around a long, glowing table. News of the attack on Zalox had reached them hours ago, but no one wanted to speak first. In the center of the table, a 3D recording showed the battle again and again. The strange black ships, the fire raining from the sky, the way the attackers moved like shadows. Finally, Elder Solm of the Chiral species broke the silence. His voice was soft but firm. "General Vorak's report is clear. Zalox was attacked. Defenses were broken in minutes. He believes it was done by humans." Murmurs rose from the others. One ambassador clicked his claws. "Impossible. Humans are primitive. They've never even left their home system. They barely survived their own wars." Elder Solm shook his head slowly. "Perhaps that's what we thought. But these ships, this technology, it doesn't match anything we know. And the humans have been silent for a long time. Too long." A tall, red-skinned being named Tovar stood up. His species, the Varnak, were known for their strength and pride. "If these were humans, then they have changed. We must act. We must send a battle force. We cannot let this stand." "But what if this was a mistake?" asked the Tekan diplomat, blinking nervously. "What if it was a rogue group? What if we attack and start a war?" A blue light flashed in the center of the table. A small screen rose from the surface, showing the face of General Vorak. His eyes were dark, tired. "This was no mistake," he said firmly. "They came without warning. They knew where to hit. They vanished before we could answer. And their words. They called themselves a scout team." Silence returned. The word hit hard. Scout, not an army, not an invasion, just a test. Elder Solm spoke again. "We must prepare. If this is how a scout team fights, what happens when their full army arrives?" Across the galaxy, inside a quiet human observation ship, Commander Alara reviewed the data from the battle. Her face was calm, but her mind worked fast. Every strike, every alien reaction, every weapon used by the Zalox had been recorded. It was all being uploaded to Earth Command. Behind her, her second-in-command, Reyes, stepped forward. "They took the bait," he said. "The Zalox responded exactly as predicted." Alara nodded. "Their leaders panicked. They didn't think. They reacted with pride, not strategy. The others will do the same." Reyes raised an eyebrow. "Do you think they'll send a larger force?" "Yes," she said. "That's what we want. We need to know how they fight when they're serious." The human scout ship turned silently, in the dark. It left no trail. It carried no flags. It was not there to conquer, only to study. Back at the Galactic Council, the decision was made. They would send a combined force from all 5 species, a show of strength, a warning to the humans. "Let them know we are not afraid," said Tovar. "Let them see the power of the galaxy." Ships began to move. Fleets were assembled, weapons charged. They followed the path left by the humans, tracking radiation, engine trails, and data. Fragments. It led them to a small, lifeless moon. When the fleet arrived, the moon looked empty. Just a cold rock floating in space. But they found strange signals. Pieces of strange metal, burnt marks. It looked like something had crashed there. The commander of the alien fleet, Admiral Rektar of the Dorn, gave the order. Land, search. Find them. The alien teams moved across the moon's surface. At first, everything seemed quiet. Then suddenly, the ground opened. Hidden cannons rose. Drones appeared from under the rocks. Gravity traps activated. It was a trap. Explosions lit the moon's surface. Alien ships tried to escape, but their systems were jammed. A hacking virus spread through their computers. Weapons shut down. Engines failed. Dozens of ships were lost in minutes. Back in orbit, Admiral Rektar shouted, "Retreat! It's an ambush! Pull back!" The alien fleet escaped? Barely. They lost over 1/3 of their ships. Thousands of soldiers were gone. And still, they had not seen the enemy's face. Inside the hidden human base, Ilara watched everything. She leaned back, in her chair. "They bit harder than I expected," Reyes smiled. "Will they try again?" "They have to," Ilara replied. "They can't accept defeat. Their pride won't allow it." She opened a channel to Earth. "Send the next wave. Let's see what they do next." Far away, the Galactic Council received the report. The mission had failed. The moon was a trap. The attackers were smarter, faster, and invisible. And still, no full army had been seen. The Council began to understand. This was not just a war. This was a test, and the humans were still watching. The air was thin on the dead moon called Ralos 9. Cracked stone and black dust covered its surface. There was no life, no water, no reason for anyone to be there, unless they had something to hide. The alien coalition fleet had just escaped from that trap, limping away with damaged ships and wounded pride. The crews whispered of shadows that moved faster than light, of machines that turned their own weapons against them. In a silent hall inside the largest surviving warship, Admiral Rektar sat with his head lowered. The lights flickered above him. His claws tapped the cold steel table. "They watched us," he said. "They knew everything we would do. Even our emergency codes were useless." The other captains stared at the screen showing the moon behind them. Explosions still danced on its surface like sparks on a battlefield grave. "This wasn't war," one of them said. "It was science, a test range," Rektar growled. "Then that means we were the test subjects." At the same time, deep beneath the surface of Ralos 9, the human scout team moved like ghosts. Their base was hidden in the cracks of the moon, surrounded by fake signals and mirrored codes. Inside the control room, Commander Ilara watched the alien fleet retreat. A soft light glowed on her face. "They lasted longer than I thought," she said quietly. Her second-in-command, Reyes, stood beside her, checking the logs. "We recorded all their weapon systems. We now know their shield frequency, engine limits, and AI fire delay." Ilara nodded. "Good. Send it to command. They'll need it when the real war starts." She turned and looked at a display on the wall. It showed a map of nearby systems, Zalox, Ralos 9, and a blinking red circle far away. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, the true base of human power. While the aliens believed the humans were hiding in moons and ruins, the reality was different. Titan had become a fortress, protected by black ice, camouflaged satellites, and sentient AIs that watched every signal in space. The real human warships, the ones built for full engagement, had not even left yet. Back in Council space, panic grew. The failure at Ralos 9 spread fast. Leaders blamed each other. Some called for peace, others demanded revenge. But one thing was clear. This enemy was nothing like the humans of old history books. These were not broken survivors. These were hunters, and they were planning something. The Tekken representative, thin and pale, stood before the council and whispered, "They are not many, but they do not need to be. What we fought was only the edge of their blade." Meanwhile, General Vorak sat in recovery on Zelox. His world still smoked from the first attack. He watched footage again and again, ships vanishing mid-flight, weapons exploding before they fired, scouts that left no footprints. Then he noticed something strange. Every strike, every explosion. It had been placed carefully. Power stations hit, but not hospitals. Defense towers destroyed, but water lines left alone. This wasn't just war. It was a message. "They're not trying to wipe us out," Vorak said to his aide. "They want us to look closer, to feel fear, not because of what they did, but because of what they didn't do." His aide asked, "What do we do now?" Vorak stared into the flames outside his window. "We prepare, and we pray it's not already too late." Back on Titan, a new ship was being prepared. It was larger than any the scout team had used. Black, armor, no windows, full AI systems connected to a quantum net. It had no name on the outside. It didn't need one. Inside, a voice spoke. "Commander Ilara, your next mission is ready. The Galactic Council is mobilizing. They will come again. Stronger, wiser. You will observe, but do not engage unless they find Titan." Ilara stood in silence, her uniform sharp and clean, her eyes calm like a soldier born in shadow. She nodded once. Understood. Outside, dozens of smaller ships moved silently in orbit. Training drills, stealth routes, test runs. All quiet. Earth itself remained untouched. Not a single human city had been attacked. Not one shot had been fired from home, because the humans didn't want defense. They wanted timing, and they were waiting. The council, still unsure, began to gather again. More fleets were built, more soldiers trained. Some leaders pushed for peace talks, others demanded blood, but none of them truly understood what was happening. They thought they had time. They thought they were the ones preparing for war. They were wrong. Because in the darkness between stars, something else was moving. Something ancient. Something human. And it was watching. The game had changed. The scouts had done their job. The trap had been tested. And now, the real question hung. In space, like a silent threat, what happens when the rest of humanity arrives? In the quiet darkness of deep space, the stars seemed peaceful. But the silence was a lie. Behind that silence, war was preparing to breathe. Not loud, not with screaming armies, but like a cold wind that grows stronger each second. Commander. Ilara stood on the bridge of her new ship, watching the stars slide past through the digital screen. Her team moved silently around her, checking systems, running simulations. No orders were shouted. Everyone knew what to do. They had trained for years in secret, waiting for this moment. A message blinked on the console. Galactic Coalition. Forming task force near Zillion Rift. Ilara raised one eyebrow. "So, they're finally serious," she said softly. "Good." Reyes, her second-in-command, looked over. "Do we engage?" Ilara shook her head. "No, not yet. Let them come. Let them bring everything they have. We'll let command decide when to open the cage." Far away, in the heart of Coalition space, the task force was being built. Hundreds of warships, representing over a dozen species, gathered near the Zillion Rift. The Council believed it was a safe zone, far from human reach, but they were wrong. Admiral Rektar stood on the bridge of the Coalition flagship. His scars had not healed from the Ralos 9 trap. His pride was still bleeding. But this time, he was ready. He had called in favors, upgraded weapons, studied human tactics. "We won't be tricked again," he told his officers. "This time we strike first." Inside the task force, tension ran high. Soldiers whispered stories of invisible ships, hacked systems, and the quiet power of the humans. Some believed the stories were lies. Others had seen the footage and believed too much. Rektar gave the order. "Move toward Titan. Find their base. Burn it to the ground." Meanwhile, deep inside Titan's hidden base, Earth Command received the signal. Red lights blinked across the main wall. Warning signs. Movement detected. The enemy was coming. A voice spoke in the command chamber. Calm, cold, artificial. "Coalition fleet detected. Arrival in 7 days. General Mora, leader of Earth's defense forces, stood before a giant digital star map. She had white hair, steel eyes, and the calm of someone who had seen too much. She turned to her officers. "Prepare the failsafe." Whispers spread. The failsafe was not a myth. It was real. It had been built in silence over 2 decades. A weapon so dangerous it had never been tested fully. "But should we use it?" asked one officer. "They haven't attacked yet." General Mora replied, "They will. Not because they're evil, but because they're afraid. We showed them our shadow. Now they want to kill it before it becomes real." 7 days later, the Coalition fleet reached the edge of the Saturn system. Titan was in sight. Rektar stood at the front of his bridge, staring at the frozen moon. "No signals, no defense grid," he said. "They're hiding again." But the moment they moved closer, everything changed. A pulse of blue light spread from Titan, slow and wide. Ships froze, systems glitched. Some, smaller vessels shut down entirely. Then, one by one, hidden human ships decloaked. First 10, then 50, then over 200, and they weren't scout ships. These were war machines. Black armor. No names, no windows, just power. Rektar shouted, "Shields up, form battle lines!" But it was too late. The humans didn't speak. They didn't send warnings. They just moved. One human dreadnought sliced through the first alien line like a knife through paper. Alien weapons fired, but they were absorbed or redirected. Human AI systems hacked every missile before it launched. And when the human ships fired back, quiet beams of white light, not loud but deadly, entire ships vanished. In the chaos, Rektar tried to retreat. "Fall back! It's a slaughter!" But the humans had already blocked escape routes. Stealth drones had been placed behind the fleet days before. Now the trap was complete. Inside her command ship, Ilara watched the battle unfold. "They didn't listen," she said. "We warned them without words. They answered with fire. So now, they will understand." The battle lasted 36 minutes. The Coalition fleet, made up of over 300 ships, was reduced to scattered wreckage. Survivors were few. Some were allowed to escape. It wasn't mercy. It was strategy. The story needed to spread. Back on Titan, General Mora watched quietly. "Phase 2 is complete," she said. "They've seen what we can do. Now they will choose war or surrender." But even Mora knew the truth. Most species don't surrender after one loss. Pride would demand revenge, and that was exactly what humanity was waiting for, because this was still just the beginning. Smoke drifted through space where the Coalition fleet once stood. Broken ships floated like dead fish in black water. Human warships slowly moved through the remains, scanning wreckage, collecting data, and marking which enemies had been allowed to escape. Commander Ilara sat in silence, watching the battle report. No celebration, no smile, just numbers on a screen. 80% destroyed, Reyes said beside her. 20% escaped, as planned. Ilara nodded. Good. They'll spread the message. She looked up at the main display, where Titan now appeared quiet again, like it had never moved, never fought. But below that icy surface, preparations continued. On the alien worlds, panic returned stronger than ever. Council chambers echoed with shouting, videos of the destroyed. Fleet were leaked across systems. Billions watched in silence as their proudest ships were wiped out in less than an hour. Alien leaders demanded answers. Some screamed for peace, others for revenge. But everyone knew one thing for sure. The humans had been hiding their true strength. Elder. Solm, who once called for patience, now stood in front of the council, his eyes full of fear. "We are not fighting monsters," he said. "We are fighting planners, thinkers, builders. They waited until we stepped into their trap, and now they're watching what we do next." The council debated for days. In secret rooms, plans were made, deals signed. And finally, a desperate idea was born, a plan no one wanted to speak aloud, but many quietly supported. Find Earth. Strike it before they strike again. A special force was created. Silent, hidden, no fleet, no noise. Just a single ship, fast and small, meant to sneak past Titan's defenses and locate Earth itself. Its commander was an old warrior named Kale. He had fought in more than 50 star campaigns. He didn't trust computers. He didn't believe in soft politics. He believed in winning. "If we find their home," Kyle said, "we find their weakness. Every species has one." Kyle's ship, the Veil Cutter, was cloaked, fast, and silent. It moved through the blackness of space like a shadow chasing light. As it crossed the edge of Saturn's range, Kyle ordered silence. "No transmissions, no signals. We disappear." But someone was already watching. In Titan's core command room, Earth's central AI, Athena, tracked every energy pulse in the system. Even the smallest ripple didn't go unnoticed. "Unusual signature detected," Athena reported. "Stealth. Pattern matches alien tech. One ship, high speed, no ID." General Mora stood in front of the glowing interface. "Let them pass," she said. "Let them believe we didn't see them. I want to know where they go." The Veil Cutter passed Titan without resistance. Kale smiled. "Fools," he said. "They don't even know we're here." But he was wrong. Back on Earth, in a city buried beneath the Himalayas, Command had already received the signal. Commander Ilara had already left Titan, on a mission that would change everything. Her ship now moved silently through the same space corridor, tracking Veil Cutter from just far enough not to be noticed. Kale's ship reached the edge of Sul, the solar system's heart. He passed Mars, quiet and red, past the old battlefields, near Jupiter's moons, and finally he saw it, Earth, blue, alive, beautiful. His crew stared in silence. "This is it," Kale said. "The source of all this trouble. They're hiding their true fleet somewhere down there." He ordered a scan. The Veil Cutter sent quiet beams across the atmosphere. They picked up cities, oceans, energy fields. It all seemed peaceful. Too peaceful. Kale frowned. Why are they not afraid? Why don't they have ships in orbit? And then his systems died. In a flash, every screen on the ship went black. The engines stopped. Lights flickered. Backup. Power failed. The ship was dead in space. Outside the window, something moved. A human ship, blacker than space itself, was now beside them. No warning, no sound, just presence. And then a voice filled Kyle's ship. Calm, female, familiar. "You found us. Good. Now listen carefully." Kyle recognized the voice. It was Ilara. "You came here thinking we were vulnerable. You're wrong. This is not our weakness. This is our core. Our people are not afraid. Our children sleep in peace Because they know. If anyone touches this world, we will stop holding back. The human ship turned slightly, just a small movement. But every sensor on Kale's ship showed massive power building up. Go home, Ilara said. Tell them what you saw. Tell them this was your last chance to choose peace. And just like that, her ship vanished. Kale's systems came back online. His crew stared in horror. No one spoke. There was nothing to say. They had come to find weakness. What they found was control. Calm power, silent rage. They turned around, quiet, broken, defeated without a single shot. As Kale's ship left Earth's orbit, one thought repeated in his mind. If this was their mercy, what would their wrath look like? The stars shifted again as Kale's ship, the Veil Cutter, returned to Council space. It moved slower than before. The crew was quiet. No celebration, no excitement. Just silence and the heavy memory of what they had seen near Earth. The Council was waiting. Dozens of alien leaders, generals, and advisors sat in a cold, wide hall. The tension in the air was sharp. Kale stepped forward. His armor was worn. His voice was low. I saw Earth. The room froze. Kale continued. I saw their oceans, their cities. But I saw no fear. They didn't even try to stop us. They wanted us to see. And then they shut us down, without firing a shot. Whispers echoed. Someone asked, did they attack? Kyle shook his head. No, they spoke. One voice, calm, cold. They let us leave. Another leader growled, then they are weak. Why not destroy us? Kyle looked up, eyes full of something most had never seen in him. Respect, maybe even fear, because they don't need to. They want us to choose peace or something worse. Some in the council didn't believe him. Others were terrified. Arguments started again. Surrender, war, retreat, diplomacy. No one could agree. But as they fought with words, Earth was already preparing the next move. Back in Titan's command center, Commander Ilara stood before a wall of stars, speaking to General Mora via secure channel. The probe worked. They saw Earth. The message is sent. Mora nodded. Good. Now we wait. But waiting didn't mean stopping. Earth's secret network, known as the Black Branch, activated. It wasn't an army. It wasn't made of ships or bombs. It was made of information, data leaks, signal taps, false transmissions, quiet chaos. Across council systems, power grids failed without warning. Military codes stopped working. Spaceports were locked down by their own security systems. No one could prove it was humans, but everyone suspected it. And then something new happened. On a remote border planet called Trainax, a strange signal was picked up. It wasn't human. It wasn't council. It was old, thousands of years old. A relic from the first civilizations that lived before even the council existed. The signal repeated one message. We see you. We remember what you did. Balance will return. The council panicked. Was it a new enemy? A third power? But Earth. Command already knew. General Mora called Ilara to a private briefing. We didn't send that message, Mora said, but we've been tracking it for years. It's a warning, and not from us. Ilara's face darkened. Then who? Mora tapped a file. We think there's another force out there, watching, maybe older than us, maybe not human at all, but one thing is clear. They waited for us to rise, and now that we've stepped into the stars, they're watching closely. Ilara asked. Should we be worried? Mora looked her in the eye. No. We should be ready. Back. In council space, leaders argued once more. Some wanted to reach out to Earth. Others demanded a final attack. But now there was fear, not just of humans, but of this unknown third power. And then came the final push. One of Earth's AI drones dropped a data core in neutral space. It contained 3 things: A full replay of the Titan battle. The exact moment Kale's ship was disabled. A message in every major alien language. It said, "We were only defending our edge. If you cross into our heart, there will be no warning next time. You are not our enemies, unless you choose to be." The council finally cracked. Half the members demanded immediate peace. The other half shouted that peace was surrender. But while they fought each other, Earth sent no more messages. And then the humans disappeared. No signals, no drones, no ships seen in neutral space. They simply vanished, back into the dark, as if they had never been there at all. Some believed they were waiting. Some believed they had returned to Earth to prepare for a greater threat, and some believed the third power, the Ancient One, had already made contact with them. But no one knew for sure. In deep space, Ilara stood once more, on the bridge of her ship. It drifted in silence near a forgotten system. She looked at a hidden transmission, marked Eyes Only. It said, "Stand by. We are not alone. The game is bigger than we thought. Humanity was never the end, only the beginning." Ilara closed the message. She stared out into the stars. No fear, no anger, just focus. And then she whispered to herself, "Let them come." The galaxy had gone quiet, not peaceful, just quiet, like the deep breath before a storm. Across council systems, fear moved silently. Generals checked defenses twice a day. Leaders refused to sleep without shields over their homes. Every scanner was pointed toward Earth. But Earth showed nothing. No ships, no messages, no warnings. For weeks, it was as if the humans had disappeared. And then a whisper spread. A ship had been seen, far beyond any known space, on the edge of a dead system. A black ship, moving like a shadow. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. It just passed by, and the station it passed near lost power for 3 full days. The council was terrified. "Is it the humans?" someone asked. But another question now followed it. Spoken less, but feared more. Or is it something older? On Earth, deep under the surface in a control center called Vault 9, General Mora met with her top commanders. Commander Ilara stood at her side. On the table between them was a rotating 3D star map filled with glowing red dots, signals, unknown vessels, movement where there shouldn't be movement. "This isn't just us anymore," Mora said. "We started something." Ilara asked, "Do we make contact?" Mora shook her head. "No, we wait, we listen, but we prepare harder than ever." Across the solar system, humanity began its final phase. Saturn's rings were now surrounded by cloaked defense platforms. Venus's surface had been cracked open to hide fusion weapon factories. Mars had become a training world for new soldiers. And above Earth, high in orbit, something massive was being built, a station larger than anything the Council had ever imagined. It was called Project Revenant, not a weapon, not just a base. It was something else, a signal tower, a warning beacon. Gate. No one outside Earth knew what it really was, not even most humans. Only a few trusted commanders understood its true purpose. Because Earth had received a message, and not from the Council, from something else. The signal had no language, no sound, just data. Ancient data, star maps, mathematical, codes, coordinates to places no one had explored yet. A challenge, a puzzle, or a test. Ilara looked at the decoded message once more. It wasn't threatening, but it wasn't friendly either. It said only, "We see you. If you continue to rise, be ready to stand." Back in Council space, panic spread again. A patrol near the Iran belt vanished, not destroyed, just gone. No wreckage, no signals, just missing. The Council leaders turned, on each other. Some blamed the humans, others blamed the unknown third power. Some said it was both, but Earth said nothing. Until one day, a single ship appeared near the edge of neutral space. Human, but not military. A science vessel. No weapons, no shields. It carried a message. One simple line. We do not seek war, but we will not kneel. We are ready. And then, the humans shared. Coordinates. Unknown systems. Places far beyond council maps. Places filled with strange signals and dead technology. An invitation. Come. Explore. Together. Or alone, but come. It was a move no one expected. Not war, not surrender, but challenge. Though Council held its breath. So did the rest of the galaxy, and Earth waited. Not for battle, but for what came next, because humanity had already learned that the galaxy wasn't empty. It was full of secrets, of history, of powers old and quiet. And they also knew something else. The ones who slept beneath the stars were waking up. So Earth stood ready, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as something new, a force, a voice, a species that would not run, would not beg, and would not bow. In the cold dark of space, on the bridge of her ship, Ilara looked at the stars one last time. She felt no fear, only purpose. She spoke one line before stepping into hyperspace. Let the galaxy decide what comes next. But whatever it is, we'll be ready. And the stars blinked. The humans moved, and the galaxy held its breath.